but you're not always supposed to totally know exactly what it is. It's not like I do think you get moments where it's like a clear download of like, this is where you're meant to go and this is what you're supposed to do. But it's not like mapped out and charted for you. It's just like, here's a bit of information, and then you decide what you do with that information. So hello everyone.
Hi.
Welcome to the Liberation Station podcast. Today, I haven't actually said this to you yet. I thought I'd leave it as a surprise. Because I was going to say, welcome to episode number 8. Yes. And the reason this is significant is because apparently, statistically, people who start podcasts don't usually get beyond episode 7. So this marks...
Time for celebration!
we crossed the... it's so weird as well. I found this out today.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and I was like, listen to it, I was like, oh, I can't wait to drop that in. Yeah, so apparently there's loads of podcasts out there, but to get past 7 is apparently a bit of a milestone.
Right.
So
go us.
Yeah, woo, funny. So welcome to episode number 8.
Yes, welcome.
We made it. We're here. Yeah, so today we're going to talk about something. I'm actually really excited to talk about this because it's going to reveal just how much of a hippie I actually am.
Right. Okay.
Well, if you recall, if you've been listening to any of these episodes, which you may not, you may be brand new here, so welcome if you are brand new.
Hello.
And if you are not, you may recall that in one episode, I think it was episode number 3.
Okay.
I might be wrong, to be honest.
We'll test you.
But we were talking about the role of like intuition. Do you remember this vaguely? We were talking about like, what happens if you don't hear your intuition very much?
Yeah.
And we were like, one day we should talk about intuition.
Right.
And like how you like hear that and you know what that kind of means a little bit. Yeah. Do you remember which one it was?
Now I feel bad because I have no idea.
Yeah, because it was something like, you know, I was saying, you know, I'm quite good at hearing my intuition now, so I know when there's a calling. Like we were talking about this podcast, for example, right? How it was a calling for us. And I was like, I know that I am being led by something.
Yeah, because it's easy to ignore those little nudges that the universe gives you.
Right.
Yeah.
And you said, and I remember you saying, so what happens if you don't know how to hear your intuition yet? What questions can you ask? And that's what we talked about. But in the episode, we were kind of like, we should sort of come back to the role of intuition and how important it's actually been.
Yeah, go a bit more in depth.
Yeah, and that's kind of today, isn't it? So, yeah, talking about intuition, trusting where you're led, and how you might actually get better at doing that and that sort of thing, and what that looks like, and maybe some stories about, you know, when you have done that and like where it's taken you and unexpected, you know, places and things.
Okay.
So
come on, give it to me. This is all new to me.
I know.
All news to me, not new to me. It's definitely not new to me.
Yeah. So I kind of wanted to go a little bit into like, well, how do you get like, what is intuition and how do you like get better at it? And I think one of the things is I don't know how you get better at listening to intuition without literally practicing doing that. And I think that this is where everyone needs some kind of spiritual practice to be able to do that. And it doesn't, when I say that, it's not like this big, you know.
Because I think people can be put off by that and they think it's all a bit woo-woo.
Right.
As soon as you say spiritual.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have to be that. It can be, you know, meditation or just sitting and thinking about things.
Yeah. Well, it requires the willingness to be with yourself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? That's literally kind of all it is. And however that looks for you might vary, you know, depending on the person. But,
Yeah.
you know, even going out for walks and it being without any music.
Yeah. I
Right.
mean, I know for me, it's like going out for a run, and I know this with clients as well. Like, it's that headspace that you give yourself. And it just allows things to percolate, and
Yeah.
you know, yeah, I think I have my best like intuitive moments.
Yeah.
Either when I'm out on a walk, a run, driving,
Mm.
in the shower.
Yeah, yeah. Although, yeah, like that's certainly part of it, but I feel like it's like a lot of us are afraid to just be with our own thoughts and sit with ourselves, and it's going to be really hard to tap into intuition until you are willing to go there. But it's really worth doing.
Yeah.
It's really worth doing it. And like, I don't know how I would have made so many of the decisions that I've made without the skill of just sitting with myself. And not only like doing that, but like actually enjoying it. Like now I'm like, I get annoyed when I can't do it. Like, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like this has been really highlighted to me for the past few weeks of my life, because like my life's been very, very turbulent. Where I've not had as much space as I normally have to be able to go inward and like really listen to that inner voice that knows what's up. And now I'm like, yeah, like I actually really notice just how much harder it is to live a more intuitively led life without that practice. So,
yeah, because I know you've not felt very grounded.
right.
You've been a bit all over the place. Not as a criticism,
No,
but
no,
I can see that in you because you
Mhm.
haven't got that routine.
Yeah.
And just being able to sit on your own and do your morning practices, for example.
Yeah.
And that you might go, you know, more in depth with that. But yeah, I know that it's affected you not being able to do that.
Mm-hmm. And I've been able to do what I can.
Yeah.
But yeah, it just shows me just like how I knew it was important anyway, but not doing it, I'm like, yeah. Or like not doing it in anywhere near the amount that I would like to. Really has like made, quite a big difference in my life. And I just think like, in a way, I'm grateful for the opportunity to see that, you know, see how important it actually is to me. But a lot of us don't think they have time, and you know, there's lots of reasons why people don't do it. But I don't know, I guess it's been so important because I think otherwise you end up just spending your life firefighting a lot.
I'm laughing because, that's been me the last couple of weeks for sure.
Yeah. So I mean, what are your thoughts about this before we go into like the...
Yeah, I think for me it was so important to listen to those nudges and not ignore them, because I thought it was just, you know, like pie in the sky stuff. Because obviously, you know, for me it was like changing jobs and that was a huge thing and a big upheaval. But prior to that, it was, you know, you have these thoughts and these feelings like, oh, you know, that excites me. Like, you imagine yourself doing something, but then it's like, no, I couldn't do that. I just want to be safe and just carry on as I am. But then certain things, you know, happen that push you. It's like the universe is just keep poking you.
Yeah.
Just giving you those nudges. Yeah, and I think for me it was just tapping into that a bit more. And I think, well, hopefully this podcast will do that for other people. But it was talking to you about it. And you sort of saying to me, you know, you need to listen, you know, you... Do you know what it was? And I can remember you were like... I can remember exactly where we were, and you said to me, you already know what you want to do. And I'm tearing up thinking about it because, it was a big thing. Because even in that moment, I didn't want to admit what, how I wanted to change my job. And I was kind of embarrassed about it, weirdly. Because I thought, I can't possibly do that. I can't possibly share that with somebody. Mm-hmm. But I can remember you said to me, you already know. It's already in you.
Yeah.
So having you say that to me then allowed me to listen to those little nudges.
That's interesting. Yeah, because that's it. It's like whether you put aside practice to listen to what we already know or not, it's happening regardless, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Meaning there is something in you that knows where it wants to go. It's like, because what we're really talking about here is that there is a direction that life wants you to go. I fundamentally believe that life wants you to go somewhere, and your job is to be the best listener in the world.
You have a purpose,
right? And it's like, but you're not always supposed to totally know exactly what it is. It's not like I do think you get moments where it's like a clear download of this is where you're meant to go and this is what you're supposed to do, but it's not mapped out and charted for you. It's just here's a bit of information, and then you decide what you do with that information. And I feel like if we're all really honest with each other, we've all had those moments.
Because I think when you're saying it's not mapped out, and I think a lot of people are
I need the directions. I need the map, but I need the...
it's like you leave school,
mm-hmm.
you go to university, you get a job, you get married, you have kids.
And isn't that so appealing? Because it's all mapped out for you, and that feels so good for our ego, because the ego wants to know what's happening, it wants to be in control, it wants to be able to predict because it feels safe and all of that stuff.
Absolutely. And that's why it's easy to ignore those nudges. Right,
because the soul, if you're really, I'm just getting really esoteric with this, I don't care. So that's why I was like, I'm going to reveal
this is me,
right?
I love it.
Absolutely, I don't care. I do in the sense that I care about you, but I don't care about how I'm seen in this. So the truth is, it's I want to lead a soul-led life, and if you're going to do that, which is, in my opinion, the most fulfilling way to live, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then if you're expecting a map and you're expecting it to be charted out for you, and here's the directions and this is the next step and blah, 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 and you're going to know what it's like in 10 years' time, then that has never been my experience of listening to the call of your soul, which is another word for intuition and that kind of where life wants you to go.
Mm-hmm.
So what I have come to understand in this process of trying to live my life that way, instead of, I'm a human being and I have an ego, right? But I try to listen to what my soul wants to do and what life wants me to do as much as possible. But the way that you do that, here's what I'm trying to get to, is you get really good at listening, because it's actually, when you get good at listening, it becomes very obvious where life wants you to go. But if you're a really rubbish listener, then it's, you know what I mean? And I don't say that with judgment, I just mean you have to practice. So it's not something that comes, I think this is a complicated statement, but I don't think it's unnatural, but we're conditioned out of it because we're told to follow X, Y, and Z.
Absolutely.
Right?
You're told that you should be a certain way, do certain things, stay in the same job.
And you'll be safe and everything's going to work out for you.
That's normal.
Yeah. And the hilarious thing about that is that if you can do all of that, and yet didn't the pandemic show us just how little control we have anyway? So we do all of this kind of doing the mapped out life in the name of safety, and it took one virus
Yeah.
to completely change everything, and we still hold on to this illusion of control and safety, that this way of living that's all mapped out for you is the safe route. Like, that's the kind of crazy thing, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think that's interesting you say, like, about the pandemic, because since then, how many people do you know that have, like, changed careers and changed, you know, their, like, outlook on life?
Yes.
So many people.
Because their illusion just got shattered.
Yeah, absolutely.
Just
yeah, it's
overnight.
totally changed perspective on life.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people are now looking for a different way of living, which is possibly why we're talking about this. And
like more freedom and more purpose. More purpose,
and like living the lives that we actually want to live, if that makes sense, rather than the safe life.
Yeah.
But which isn't even real anyway, and that's the kind of hilarious thing. It's just that's what we've been sold, right? Is that if you do this, then you'll be safe. And it's like, well, how many people, you know, like in our place of work now, there's people being made redundant, and that's supposedly, you know, just like all of that. It's like, it's not real. So if it's not real, great, because then you might as well just do what you want. Because it's not safe either way. So just do what you actually want to do.
Sod it.
But you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's amazing. That's huge. Because if it was actually safe, then I could see why you'd be scared to leave it. When the reality is it never was. It's just you had the illusion that it was. I think that's actually very liberating to realise. None of it's safe. Because you just might as well do it then.
Yeah.
It's like you can fail at the thing you hate, you know. So you might as well fail at the thing you know what I mean? Like to really break it down, it's like choosing the thing you don't really want to do can also fail.
Yeah, very true.
You can be made redundant, the company can go bust, like blah blah blah, like, so you might as well.
Might as well try
what do you actually
thing that you want to do.
Yeah, and again, like, this is, so it's coming back again to this point of, so what is it that you want to do? And the way you know is by listening to the nudges that are already there. And your ego is going to be like, no, it's not safe, and da-da-da-da-da. And it's like, but nothing ever was, so don't worry about it. So yeah, I think our only job is to be really good at listening, but in order to listen, we have to create space, and we have to be willing to develop some kind of practice, so that when it does come along and you have those kind of intuitive insights, you can actually hear them, and then you trust them. And sometimes it's going to ask you something that you're just like, oh man, really? But the more you do it, the more you realise, like, everything ends up working out when you actually do. Again, like, if you're listening to this, like, you know you've had those moments where life's gone, this is what you've got to do, and you're like, no, it's too hard, I can't do it.
Like this little kid.
Yeah. But then you do, and it was like, yeah, that's exactly where I was supposed to go. Yeah. When does it ever not work?
Yeah, even though it's really hard.
Yeah.
At the time, it feels really hard at the time, and upsetting and heartbreaking, but then you get through it, and you know, in hindsight, we say that all the time. Well, in hindsight, if I'd known, I'd have done it ages ago. It's that moment.
Yes. So it's like having the foresight to know that in hindsight it's going to be fine.
Yeah, exactly.
But again, through practice of listening to that illogical part that goes, I want this. This is where I want to go. This is what you're meant to do.
Instead
this is where you're meant to...
pushing it down and pushing it away.
Yeah. Oh, well, like, you know, I can't because of this. I can't because of that. I can't. And it's like, but what's
it telling you?
Yeah. And if it repeats itself a lot, then that, okay, how do you know if it's intuition? What was the thing, the quote, if it's meant for you, it won't be subtle.
I love that. Yeah,
I love it, because you're like, that's so true. Yeah. It's so true. It's like, it just,
or it'll just keep coming back to haunt you.
Yes.
Whether it's good or bad.
Yeah, it will just
if you
show up.
Don't do the thing.
Yeah, it will keep showing up. So you may as well surrender to it, because that's your sign.
Yeah.
It will keep showing up. It will keep rearing its head. It will keep Yeah, like haunting is kind of
exactly
the word. It's like, you've not done this yet, you're here, what's happening, why aren't you doing it, what's going on, da, 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 da. And yeah, my experience is that it never goes until you make the step.
Yeah, mine also.
Yeah. So you get better, I think, at like just trusting it quicker rather than pushing it away, and allowing the fear, allowing the ego to convince you that it's not safe, and that you are better off just staying where you are because at least this is easy, comfortable, safe, money, whatever else. And it's like, it's all illusion though.
Yeah.
Right?
But if it's not bringing you, if it's making you miserable and not bringing you joy.
Yeah.
But it's like all those things feel, the illusion of feeling good, but they don't really make you feel good.
Yeah. And I think as well, because this is a tricky one to get into right now, but I think in your heart of heart that it's not. But signs, if you're not willing to really be honest with yourself yet about it, are you numbing a lot?
Yeah. So if you're spending your evenings cracking open a bottle of wine or beer to numb the pain of what you've been doing during the day, that's usually a good sign that it's not what you should be doing.
Yeah. Now, let's be very, very clear. This is not about judgment. This is not about saying...
Not, no, 'cause my God, I've been there.
Right. And, and it's like, if you can't quite confront the truth of that yet, because it's hard to... Because once you confront the truth, it's like, man, I have to do something now. So it's hard, and I know how hard that is. Yeah. I really, truly do. But if if the ego is like taking control of the situation and like keeping you safe in inverted commas, bloody hell, commas, you know what I mean?
Inverted commas.
Thank you. Jesus.
We'll get there.
I know, I was like, why am I struggling to say that? Anyway, so if that is the situation you're in, you'll know because you're numbing a lot. That's a really big sign, I think. So and numbing comes in many, many forms, or like addiction as well. Again, it's like eating too much, drinking too much, watching too much TV, scrolling a lot.
Yeah.
All things that can be done in non-numbing ways can be enjoyable.
Yes.
They're not inherently bad.
But if you're doing it constantly,
as a way to just jump out of your body, to not be present ever with your life, engaged in your own life, then I think that's a good sign to know that you're ignoring a larger truth.
Yeah.
And that's really, I do just want to say, like, this is super uncomfortable. I realise listening to this, that could be a really like, thing to hear.
Yeah, because it just makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like, because if you're listening to this and you're doing that, you're like, oh shit.
Yeah. And the only reason I can talk about it is because I've been there, so I'm no different.
As have I.
Like, I only know because I've experienced that. I can only speak from my own experience. So if you do decide, because for me it came down to a decision of like, I want to live a life that is a courageous one. Courage has been a huge teacher for both of us, and we talked about this in a different episode as well.
Yeah.
Soul-led, surrendered state of letting something bigger lead the way. Then stop expecting it to be a big mapped out chart for you. You get, like, again, my experience of this is like, you get the next step. Something reveals itself. That's what I'm supposed to do next. Then the next step. It's like, I think of it as like a treasure hunt.
Yeah.
Like a scavenger hunt.
Yeah,
like you get one piece of the puzzle.
Yeah.
Then you get another piece. It's not like you get all the pieces at the beginning of the game. There's no game there. That's like quite a cool way of thinking about it. Scavenger hunts are fun. Why? Because it's revealing itself to you as you go. It's like one step at a time. And then it's like, ooh, and then you get curious, and it's like allowing curiosity to lead the way. Oh, I'd love to talk about curiosity more at some point. But curiosity has been such a powerful We have talked about this actually a little bit in a different episode.
Yes, a little bit, I think.
In the context of fear, being more curious than fearful.
Yeah.
It's so powerful. Curiosity is such a superpower, I think. It really is. Because, it's allowing yourself to be curious about the steps being revealed to you rather than just frustrated that you can't see the big picture.
Yeah, it's asking yourself, well, why is that coming into my life?
Yeah, and just being like, oh, okay, thank you for revealing yourself. Now I'm supposed to do this, and then I'm going to do this, and then when I do that, I look back and I'm like, oh, because then you do have you don't get the whole map, but you can connect dots once you have the dots have been revealed to you. Do you know what I mean? It's like it's only by looking back you see how all the dots connected, but you don't get to see it in the process.
Well, you're in it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And then you're like, oh, that's why I did that. And you didn't know it at the time. You just did something. Yeah. And then later you're like, that's why I learned that. That's why I did that. That's why, and I love that. Those moments are really cool.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because you're like, you make that leap and you make that change. But then, I know for me, it's like, well, yeah, I've done that thing and it feels great and I love it. But there's more. Yes. It's like, I know there's more. What's the more?
Yeah. But in a way, I kind of love the mystery of it, right? That's the other part of it, right? Because, again, the ego hates the not knowing, the uncertainty, the lack of clarity, all that kind of thing. But the soul loves the mystery. It lives for the mystery, because if you knew what your whole life was going to be, like you're going to die at 80, you're going to do this, you're going to do this, you're going to do this. Like, if you really think about that,
that's quite a scary thought, actually, knowing.
Yeah.
To know exactly what was going to happen.
Scary and boring.
Yeah.
So we think we want to know, but we don't. Because if you were like, look, if I could tell you exactly what you're going to do, you'd be like, don't tell me. I want to find out, because then it's more interesting. That's so much more thrilling to discover. Yeah. So it's like discovery. Discovery is so fun and interesting. So it's just this it's weird having this polarity live within you of no, I want to know, but then the other part's like, no, I don't. There's a tension.
Yeah. It just makes me think some people say to you, well, I don't like change.
Yeah. Right. It'd be really boring if it never did, though. It would be really boring. And it's also just well, that's a shame, because that's the only thing that's guaranteed.
Yeah, true.
So better get used to it. But really, it's change is the only constant. I love that expression. I just think it's so cool. Anyway.
Oh dear.
Yeah, so recognizing that, okay, here's a really cool example of it. This podcast, right? We have done 8 episodes.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. Woo! And we have some ideas of where it's going to go, but do we really have any sense of the big, big, big picture?
No.
No. Is that a reason to not do it? No.
Yeah, we're just having fun with it and seeing where it takes us. There's ideas of where you might want it to go, like you say. But we don't know what's going to happen.
No.
We're just going with the flow.
Yes.
And listening to those little nudges when they become apparent.
Exactly. And what we have no concept of what opportunities it could present for us, right? Because that's an example of when we take the aligned action, is what I would call it. The aligned action being there's a nudge. Yeah. And you followed the nudge.
Yeah, so there was a nudge to do the podcast in the first place. So we're doing that and going with it.
Yeah. Then things present themselves to you that you could never have predicted. Even if you were I'm going to do a podcast and I'm going to do it like this, and you can have some planning to a point. There's just so much unknown, and that's what's exciting, because I'm I don't know where it's going to take us. And I feel that is also why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
Because I'm living for that. Where is it going to take? Yeah, it's thrilling, right? But I think a lot of the people stop themselves from doing it for that, like, well, I don't know what it's going to take me and I don't really see the point and I need to know what's going to happen and da-da-da-da-da. So then it just immediately taught themselves out of it, rather than being like, but isn't there a part of you that just wants to go for the ride and like just like have fun with the process?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because you can get fixated on an outcome.
Yeah. And this is hard because we are really fixated on the outcome in our culture.
Yeah.
Right? It is. So again, like I say, none of this with any judgment of like, you should be like this. Like, no. I'm not saying that. But it's because we are conditioned to be like, everything's about outcomes and targets and, you know, reaching this thing and da-da-da-da. And it's like... and it's
making so much money or whatever.
Yeah. And not allowing space for mystery, which is like the really fun part. That's what I have come to discover. And I would never have thought I would say something like that when I was younger, because I was the most anxious person ever. Right? And I was like, oh, I get it now.
Yeah.
So, yeah, in terms of practices, things that you could do. So we could do, like we talked about, going for walks. I think that's a helpful one.
Definitely.
For me, I think this very much relates to things we've talked about in different episodes as well, but it's quite hard to pay attention to that voice, A, without giving it space, but B, if you're dysregulated a lot.
Yeah, that really, hits me. Like this week,
Right.
I've just been, I think if you'd have seen one of the Instagram posts, you might have seen me feeling a bit off. Mm-hmm. The nervous system's just been all over the shop.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's hard to listen to any intuition when you're just feeling anxious and stressed out.
Yeah.
Because I think there's like even this, like up until yesterday I was feeling like that, and then I don't know what's happened, but something's flipped today, and I just feel much more relaxed and able to think clearly.
Yes. Yeah. So some of the practices are literally just about getting you back into regulation. And I'll repeat again what I've said in different episodes because it's really worth repeating. Regulation is a state of like presence. It's feeling in the moment, feeling kind of like aware of your surroundings, mindfulness, think of things like that.
Yeah.
Whereas dysregulation is either sympathetic nervous system arousal or dorsal vagal, but basically meaning where you're either like in fight, flight, or shut down, freeze, that kind of stuff. So it's nothing wrong with going in those states here and there, by the way. I'm not saying you should never go into those states because you're gonna, like you talked about, it happened this week. It's just about knowing how to get back to regulation. Yeah,
it makes me think about that book, which is on my bookshelf, I think, The Power of Now.
Oh, I've got totally.
Yes, yeah. Because you can, like when you stress, you're like either worrying about what's going to happen in the future or what's happened in the past.
Yes.
And it's bringing yourself back to the now.
Yes.
And that presence.
Yeah. I love that you brought that up, actually, because that was one of the first books I ever read on kind of the concept of meditation, actually.
Right.
Which is really, like, it was the first time I ever understood it, was reading that book. It's just and it's so cool that you brought that up. Okay. So, because what he says in that book is meditation teaches you to become the observer. So you realise, I am not my thoughts. I am someone witnessing myself having thoughts, which means you are not the thoughts. You are the thing watching the thoughts. So the practice of watching your thoughts is what allows you to come into the power of now, which is presence, right? So that's why I think, like, to be honest with you, I really feel like I don't want to say everyone should meditate because I don't like to use the word should ever. But it really seriously, like, it's been such an important practice for me. That's all I can say. And it's the one that I fought and resisted the most. And that tells you something. Something that you resist the most is where
It's
you need
usually-
to go.
Yeah, it's usually the thing that you need to do.
Yeah. Right? Like the things that you're like most like, it's so icky. Ugh. Like I wish it wasn't like that, but my experience has been the most resistant things is exactly where I have to go.
It's making me think now, like, right, shit.
Yeah.
Right, I can think of things that I'm resisting, so right, I need to do it. Oh
That's
my
where you've
god.
got to lean in.
Yeah.
I
It
know.
is.
But
And it's so true. There's a couple of things that I'm thinking, and I'm like, yeah, I need to do it.
would you be willing to share? You don't have to.
I think it's writing more.
Yes. Oh, sorry.
She knows exactly.
Years ago, I was like, you're a writer. I remember that. Sorry, it's so
I
weird.
remember it. I remember exactly where we were as well. And you were like, you've got a book in you. I know you're going to write. And I was like, no.
Yeah.
But in the back of my mind, I was like, yeah, but yes.
How very apt that we're talking about this.
No, honestly, yeah. And yeah, it's definitely something that pie in the sky thing, like you think, I couldn't do that. But yeah, and it's something I massively resist.
Yeah.
Like I really, really struggle with it.
Mm-hmm.
And I tell myself that I can't do it because I'm rubbish. I don't know what to say, I don't know what to write.
Mm-hmm.
And you know that I struggle.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and you know that's something that I say to myself and to you and to other people. But yeah, I need to just do it.
Yeah. But, you know, in this, like, it's just, the point here is to say, wherever you feel the most resistance, unfortunately.
The thing is, like, even talking about it now, it's brought it to the forefront, and I'm like, I'm actually quite excited to try it.
Yes!
There we go.
I love it. I was like, oh my god, is this happening?
I feel like it's a day for celebration.
It is. It's Friday as well.
Yeah, got that Friday feeling.
Yeah, I know what you mean. So that was a cool moment.
That was a crunchy advert. Oh my god, I'm showing my age now.
I know exactly what advert you mean.
Oh god. Anyway.
Yeah, let's just like acknowledge that. That was cool. But yeah, no, and it's right. So here's a cool. Let's just break down what just happened there. So years ago, I don't even remember like the context of why we were talking about this, but I remember being like, you are clearly, you're a writer, and I don't even know why that happened. But sometimes something will reveal itself to you years ago. And I do believe that sometimes it's not always the exact time for it, but it's just like, because I get those moments where I'm like, that's coming for me. It's not like a now thing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm going to do that at some point.
Yes.
It's not always like, it's more like, oh, that revealed itself, but it doesn't always mean I have to act on it immediately.
Yeah.
That's been my experience. So like that with you, with the writing, I was like, that's not a now thing, but now you know. It's there.
Yeah.
It's coming. Sometimes it's a weird thing, isn't it? Where it's just like, I don't know why you told me that now. Like you, as in like, I'd say it as like universe, God, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But it doesn't always mean it's like, just because you now know that's coming, that it's going to happen right this second. But it's just like more this, oh, okay.
Just listening to that.
Yeah.
That little nudge.
Yeah. Again, it's just, when those moments happen, it's like just making a bit of a mental note and getting kind of like curious and like, okay, cool about it,
Yeah, because it's funny about the writing thing. I can vividly remember that moment that you'd said that to me. And there was another moment, like maybe 6 months after that, where a client had said a similar thing to me. And yeah, and I can remember that. But again, at the time, I was like, no.
Yeah.
Maybe one day, watch this space.
Yeah. Because I think sometimes, like, because again, this, in my belief, the soul wants, like, all of it. It doesn't want just the good, fun, happy, joy. Like, yeah, that stuff's great.
Yeah.
But it wants growth. And growth is messy, you know?
Yeah, you've got to go through the hard stuff
Mm.
to get to the good stuff.
Yes, because the biggest example I had of this for me, actually, yeah, let's go into this. So,
Okay.
was writing songs. So I'm a songwriter. I haven't talked about this on the podcast at all,
No.
but I am a songwriter, singer, performer. So that for me was like writing for you, which I know they're writing, but the different type of writing, but creative work in some way. It was the thing that I really, really, really fought hard to ignore and not do, didn't want to do it. And it's because, it meant a lot to me to do it. But it forced me to become who I needed to become in order to do the work.
Right.
So it was the biggest growth edge was me having to confront all of the things I didn't want to confront in myself. My perfectionism, my, let me actually try and break this down now, because I'm far enough away from it to be able to talk about this in a bit more detail now, because I couldn't talk about it when I was going through it. But my unwillingness to be seen as not good at something, because I was a beginner, right? You had to be a beginner again. And the thing is, there was another layer to that, actually, because it's one thing being bad at something that you don't care about, but because I really cared about it, I really struggled to be seen as incompetent at the thing I so desperately wanted to be competent at.
I get that.
Yeah. So I had to come face to face with that and just get over it, essentially. I mean, there was more to it than just get over it. But, that is essentially, in the end, what I had to do was just get over myself, right? I had to be witnessed in a lot of vulnerability. And the big thing for me was my husband is a songwriter who's really experienced at it, amazing, and he's like just a natural born, like can play every instrument, all of that stuff. And I just did not want him to see me in that way at all. And that's why I fought it so much, because I was like, because underneath all of that was, what if I'm not worthy of being loved through this?
Yeah.
And that fear of being seen.
Yeah, and being seen this, especially with somebody who's so important to you.
Yeah, who I looked up to so much in that, and I still do.
Yeah.
He is incredible and has so much talent. And it was just like, you're going to have to see this side of me struggling and vulnerable and all of that. And can you still love me through that,
Well, he did marry you, so you're all right.
But so I got there and I moved through that. But it was so excruciating. It was just like, I cannot, it took me so long to get to a point where I felt comfortable. And even to this day, it's not like the easiest thing in the world, but yeah, it's certainly different now. But I had to really do you know what it was? I had to really, really come face to face with my own arrogance. Because underneath all the, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I'm not this, was an assumption that I should be better without having done
without having any practice in it. Oh, well, I know you've done it before, but yeah.
But nowhere near, I was still a beginner, it was like, I wanted to be an expert without having to go through the mud, I didn't, without learning anything, I just wanted to be amazing because I have a natural flair for singing, so I should be amazing at this too, and it should just come without any effort at all.
Yeah, and a lot of us fall into that trap as well.
Oh my god. Yeah, my arrogance is hilarious. Really. I mean that. I really have to that's so the biggest teacher, because the antithesis of arrogance is humility, and I was very humbled. But that's what I needed.
Yeah.
That's what I needed. And therein lies the whole point of why I've told this story, is that my soul was like, for you to get where you need to be, you need to humble yourself.
Yeah.
And now it's a lot easier for me because I did the really, really hard thing, the stickiest thing. I'm not saying I'm never going to come up against stuff again, obviously. I'm not like, I've done this now and there's no trials ever again. No, I'm not saying that. But in comparison, it's like, I don't mind being new at a podcast. It's fine. Like, I have been through the newness of something really scary before.
Yeah, and I know we've talked about this in previous podcasts. It's building up that trust in yourself.
Yes. And knowing I trust the process.
Yeah, you trust the process. Yes, it's a different thing, but I've been new at it before. I've had to get over it, and it'll be okay.
Yeah. I know that I have done this before.
Yeah.
I can do that. Exactly.
Yeah.
And that was far stickier for me. So I know it really sucks to hear it, but if you do that, the confidence that brings, I feel like so much more confident as an individual as a consequence of doing the really, really, really resistant, sticky thing.
It's so true. The amount of confidence it does build up in you.
Yeah.
And it's awful. It takes me back to doing like assessments for my PT. Like, I was so nervous, and I was nearly sick.
Yeah.
But then when you do it the next time, or you do the next thing, it's not as hard. You're like, well, I've done the hard thing before.
Yeah.
I can do it again.
I survived. I made it.
I survived, yeah.
And not only did I survive and make it, but the elation when you do something really hard like that.
Yeah.
There's something so satisfying about it as well. Like, it's that the flip side is because you know how much it demanded of you.
Yeah.
It's like, yes.
Because it meant so much.
Yeah, it meant so much. It forced me to confront so many demons that I just didn't even know were there. Except, like, obviously on some level I did, because that's why I was hiding from it so hard.
Yeah.
But it's like, wow, like I have so many, just like so many hang-ups that I really had to like just work through. It wasn't just about writing the songs, it was who I needed to become.
Yeah.
You know, which is, someone that's way more humble. Now, I have a long way to go. I'm not going but it was huge. I just didn't know, because it was all underneath, I'm not good enough, I'm not, no. That was just sitting on top of what the real problem was.
Yeah.
You know? I am grateful to realise that now. And I remember the moment of realising it, like, oh, it was I remember where I was, and it was like this really key moment.
Yeah.
And I was like, damn, that's what it's really about.
I love that when you can like think back to a specific point in time.
Life-changing moment.
Yeah,
life-changing moment. Yeah. Love those things. Like, they don't happen all that often, do they? Those really, really, like, I will never unsee that.
Like
pivotal moments. Yeah, totally. I feel like that still relates to what we were talking about here,
definitely.
doesn't it? Yeah. I know we're going on a big old tangent, but it's kind of...
Yeah, it's relating.
Yeah. The point maybe we were trying to make here is that, it's hard, but, like, those moments have been so worth it. Like, I want to live a life that's led by truth.
Yeah, it's just listening to your intuition.
Yeah.
And like you said earlier, if it's hard, then it's probably the thing that you should be doing.
It's where it's telling you something. It wants you to go there.
Because you're nervous about it, because it means something.
Yeah. But it's also the most rewarding thing, and I think maybe we need to emphasise this a bit more, not just the pain of it.
Yeah, it's like, just because it's hard, just do it. It's what you get out of it.
Yeah, that was one of the most rewarding things I've ever managed to overcome. Like
you said, the word elation.
Yeah.
That's it. That's what you feel.
Yeah.
When you do it.
I was like crying my eyes out the first time I completed it. You know, a song from start to finish, through to production.
Yeah.
Like, again, I will never forget that moment of just being like, oh my God, I did it. I actually did it. I actually got here. I actually made it. Like, that was a huge moment.
Yeah.
And it changed me forever. That was so worth it. It was so worth it. All of the toil, all of the struggle. Like, it's great. Do it.
Yeah, it makes me think of when I saw you on stage. That was this year.
Yeah.
I know we keep saying that, but yeah, it was this year. And oh no, in fact no, it wasn't this year. It was when you did it last year.
Yeah.
You cut that down. Yeah, I've never seen you so buzzed.
Yeah.
Like you were absolutely just it was awesome to see.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're like on cloud nine.
Yeah.
Just
there was nothing that could have like
so much adrenaline, but you were just loving it.
Yeah. I was like made for that moment. It was awesome. So yeah, like that's the other side of it, you know. And I so could have just ignored all of it.
Yeah.
But that would be denying why I'm here. That's really like underneath all of this is like when we ignore those things, we're denying the reason that we're here.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that writing songs is the only reason I'm here, but it's, do you know, it's part of a bigger thing.
It's part of your purpose.
Right.
Yeah, it's one of the things. It doesn't have to just be one thing.
No.
It can be many things.
Yeah. And just trust it, like, do it. Trust me, do it.
Yes, do it. do the thing.
Do the thing. It's great. It's amazing. Is there anything else you want to say about this? Would you want to say anything about the writing for you?
Yeah, so I've had that realisation in today's podcast. that little nudge towards the writing or the massive resistance has made me realise that it's something that I wanna try. And like I said earlier, I actually feel quite excited about it.
I love that.
It's like an excited apprehension.
Yeah.
If that's the right way around, I don't know. But yeah, nervous but excited.
Yes. Which I think also tells you that it's the thing to do. When you have nervousness and excitement and apprehensive, that's like the cocktail of like the thing.
Yeah.
That's where you need to go.
Yeah.
Sometimes things aren't always scary. Like I do want to say like soul-led stuff can also be like
it can be
just fun and like, woo, yeah, I want to go there.
Like
totally.
something that fills you with joy. Like if it's something that you know, like a new hobby you take, you absolutely love it. Yeah, that's you know, that's another nudge.
Yes. Yeah.
But
there's different languages of the nudge, let's
absolutely.
say.
It doesn't have to all be like scary.
Yeah.
But yeah, with this, I think this significant number 8 podcast. It's given me the little kick up the arse to try it.
Yeah.
So yeah, maybe let us know if it's given you any inspiration.
Yeah, has anything landed for you with this? Has it kind of helped you see something you already knew? Because in the end, we do already know. We know.
Yeah.
And no one else is supposed to tell you what it is. It's just helping you to remember what you already know. That's all we're really trying to do. It's not telling you what to do, but just helping you to come back to what you already know in your own life.
It's like what the soul wants.
Yeah. How you actually listen to that, how you re-remember.
Yeah.
Because when you do it, you're like, I knew this. You never go, it's never like a total mystery, is it? In that sense. I did know. I just pretended I didn't know.
So let us know in the comments if it has inspired you in any way.
I would love to know if someone like came back and was like, I listened to this and then I did this and then this happened.
Oh my god, that would be absolutely
wouldn't
amazing.
It? Yeah. So you could be that person.
Let us know, please.
Yeah, thank you so much. And as always, feedback is great. If you got something out of this episode and you think someone else might too, share it with them. Let people know the podcast exists. We're on Instagram, is our main kind of platform.
Yeah, if you want to send us any messages on there. But yeah, obviously the podcast is on Spotify, Apple, Amazon. What else have I forgotten? YouTube.
Yeah. I've also started a Rumble account, which I haven't told you about yet, but that's
I've seen
new.
the emails. I have no idea what it is.
Well, we'll talk about that off the air. But if you are on Rumble, we are on there too. That's the new one. And yeah, thank you so much for listening. Thank you for giving us your time and attention. We really appreciate that.
Yes, thank you for listening to episode 8.
Yes, and we'll catch you for episode 9 because we're going to be here.
We will.
We're going to continue to show up. Thank you so much, everybody.
See you soon. Bye.